Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast, presented by Zwift. Got some interesting updates from us personally related to Zwift in a second. It's the Pyrenees-Tirreno Adriatico recap doubleheader. You might look at the results of these two stages and be like, boring. Nah, there's some funny things and some weird things that happened during both of those races. I guess that's why people listen to the recaps, because we watch every race in full. But before we get into the Pyrenees recap, mention our show partners. Zwift Tour of Autopia is on at the moment, and I guess my journey to being the only man to defeat Pog, it gets closer. I checked today. I'm down, I think, 2.5 kilos since the Zwift deal started. And since we've been just flying on Zwift. So that's ahead of my schedule. Pogacar's scared. I guess, is Kung scared of you, Benji?
I'm not so certain that Kung is already scared of me, but that's something for 2037 for me. But it's going steady. Last year I had the goal of putting in 2022 15 to 20 kgs off, so that's a lot. And I'm about 25% in, and we're 2.5 months into the season, so I can't complain. I'm enjoying it, and I hope that it continues going. And I'm really enjoying. It's like Zwift is the kind of thing that you can do while doing other things, and that's what makes it so great for me.
Well, for us, we have to sit and watch 4 hours of cycling in a row. Half the time when stuff, I don't know how Netflix is going to make all these races seem exciting. But Pyrenees, 215 kilometers long. It had the main last climb, the Col de l'Espoulier, 11 Ks, 4.5% steeper at the base, shallower at the end, and then a 1,200 meters, 6.5% kicker, 8 Ks cresting from the finish, finishing in Urbania. We have Wout here, Mads Pedersen, Philipsen went home, Jakobsen DNF during the stage, so more people leaving. It was really Pedersen, Girmay, Wout from the finish, or maybe the breakaway, but Trek worked all day, Benji. I think quite rightly. Pedersen's the fastest man left with Jakobsen gone.
Yeah, honestly, that's true. And I was somewhat scared that perhaps on that Espoulier, whatever that climb was that I just mispronounced, that I don't have open so I can't pronounce it properly. Well, on that climb, I was a bit scared that it would be too hard for some people, but Mads Pedersen should get over that relatively well if his team is riding a steady pace and therefore not really allowing those peaky attacks ongoing. For example, if Martin goes and then another rider goes and so forth, that's when a rider like Pedersen could get in trouble. But if you keep pacing, that likely won't happen. Now, the gap didn't really extend too much on this stage, and it really was, like you said, on that l'Espigolier, now I pronounce it correctly, climb, that it really started becoming a race to watch. And we saw that the peloton was thinning out as Julien Bernard was doing most of the work for Trek Segafredo on that climb. And there were no real moves except for Matthew Holmes, who attacked to try and gain some KOM points, but Madua had been in the break all day, so was securing all the points before that, so it wasn't that effective on Holmes' part. And towards the top, we noticed that Cees Bol was almost dropping from the group, in that peloton group, and I was like, okay, come on, Cees Bol. This is your one day in the season. You're going to make it over the top. You're going to pull out your once per year perfect sprint at the end of the day. And he held on towards the top. And then towards the front, Søren Kragh Andersen started attacking, split up the peloton, and Bol was dropped.
I couldn't believe it. I don't know. SKA was strong, don't get me wrong. He looks back in his stage 14 Lyon finish where he was crazy strong, 2020. He finished ahead of Mezgec in a solo move, and he won another stage, did he, before then? Can't remember. He's looking good, but it crested 16 Ks from the finish. And he kind of sold Bol. Well, no, he definitely sold Bol and Leknesund. Yeah. Maybe it's a earpiece out moment. I joked the other day, we hadn't checked PCS when Benji was like, why is he meme attacking? I was like, contract? And he's out of contract this year. So, do you think that's playing into it, Benji? If you were a rider and last year of your deal at DSM, surely you're riding for yourself right now.
Yeah, quite certainly. While he still did have Degenkolb in that group as a potential sprinter, but I would dare to say that on a flat finish, that Bol is a fast man, but after those hills, Degenkolb could be a pretty fast man as well, even though he's more towards the end of his career. But I agree with you that can play a big role in the motivations of riders and what they do in races, but I'd argue it's much more effective to do one thing on the final hill that works out than attack with 30k to go on a moment that it's very unlikely that it's going to be effective, like the 2 last attacks he did in Paris this year. And we might be able to find out in this race, because at that point, we had Søren Kragh getting caught again. And who was taking control there? Were there attacks, or was there a team that was trying to control things?
Trek had Kirsch pacing a lot, but then they spent a lot, Trek, chasing Søren Kragh back and pacing all day. Jumbo weren't the major team controlling. And it split apart on this 1,200 meter, 6.5% climb up to an intermediate sprint point. The race just exploded. I saw Trek nowhere. And just like on stage one, in the matter of a minute up this climb, the group's like 10 riders with Roglic, Wout van Aert, Laporte, and it was, I think, Burgaudeau. Who was the first rider to attack but Laporte marked, Benji?
Honestly, no clue. I think Guillaume Martin was part of that move as well,
Yes.
but there was indeed one rider that was ahead where Martin and Laporte answered to, and that one rider was then gone. But I don't know who it was. I'm sorry, person, if you're watching. We forgot about you. Was it Burgaudeau?
I'm pretty sure it's Burgaudeau. Total Energy set him up, and they got to the crest of the intermediate sprint. You looked at the helicopter shot, group of 10 riders. Burgaudeau's a little bit ahead. I'm like, wow, send it. Like, Laporte marked but didn't pull. He was refusing to work with riders, which was, I think, at that point, I was surprised. And it seemed that Jumbo really wanted to ride for a Van Aert sprint, but that meant that Pedersen came back. I was surprised by that because Pedersen's faster than Wout right now. We saw that quite clearly on the other uphill drag. And yeah, maybe it's unrealistic. It's not a video game to be like, wow, just bridge to Burgaudeau and then ride 8Ks off. But Trek were in shambles and no one really took control. And I think, yeah, I still think, by the way, Burgaudeau, he looks like Alaphilippe's cousin. He's like the meme we have Alaphilippe. It's like at home, and it's like Alaphilippe at home is Burgaudeau.
Walmart Alaphilippe.
Well, maybe Alaphilippe is Walmart Alaphilippe compared to Burgaudeau. You look at Tirreno today. But he was gone. 12 seconds, 15, 18. Trek are trying to come back. They run out of domestiques. No one's really controlling. Eventually, when it's at 20 seconds with 4Ks to go, Jumbo put Laporte on the front. He gets a gap. This is why everyone's fucked. Everyone's so tired. Gaps open up, and he's just got Mozzato on his wheel. I know you have a strong view on this. Mozzato should have pulled, right?
Yeah, Mozzato should have pulled, and Laporte also should have, in my opinion, continued pulling as well, even if Mozzato stayed on for a bit. Because the second he gets to Burgaudeau, well, then Burgaudeau is done for when it comes to going to continue pacing, and then Mozzato won't pace in your wheel as well, so you're neutralizing that group in front from the inside and giving a chance for Wout van Aert in a sprint in behind, you know?
Yeah, I just think there was like a point with 1,200 meters to go, helicopter shot. Burgaudeau was so close to the peloton, and then they sort of let it go again, and then Trek came through to the lead out. 200 meters to go, he was in front. No one had taken control. Sturven doing the lead out for Pedersen. We got the front angle shot. We don't know where the finish line is. And Burgaudeau, who was strong at Bessèges, by the way, and he's gotten stronger as the goatee's grown out, takes his first ever professional victory at 23 years old for Total Energy. It's a surprise, of course, but the fact that he is strong is not a surprise. Atlas Pedal-Douce, who's a French guy, does scouting reports on Twitter on some of the sort of lesser known riders, like Burgaudeau did one ages ago because he came third at Coppa Sabatini, third at Boucle de l'Eurne last year, and he seems to have progressed. 10th at Drôme, hard race this year, and 13th at Fournier-Desch before Paris-Nice. And as I said, 5th and 4th in the hard finishes at Bessèges. Not a man to be disrespected. And I think, Benji, they thought he'd just come up and it was a meme attack. When is a meme attack not a meme attack? I guess when they win.
Well, I'd argue that a meme attack depends on the timing at which you attack, and I don't have an issue with a rider like Burgaudeau trying something on the final hill of the day, knowing that the last spot is half descent, half flat. And we know that if you look at the profile, although the last kilometer did look a bit more downhill in real life than it did on the profile, but it still looked quite downhilly those last like 10-ish kilometers after that climb they just did where Burgaudeau made his move. I don't think that's a meme attack. He has nothing to defend. He might as well just go YOLO and try something because it's not like he's got a sprinter behind that can do something here. For example, when Latour went last year on that second last call in the Tour de France, that's when you know it's a meme attack because what is he going to do? Is he going to attack on the second last call, gain 20 seconds, go to the bottom of the last call, have 20 seconds and get caught and dropped? Yeah, that's a meme attack.
Yeah, or Martin yesterday when the break is already gone. Like it's pointless. But yeah, incredible win for him. Total Energy will be very happy with that. I think that's their. Did they win a World Tour race last year? I'd been very surprised. Nope, they didn't win a .pro race last year. They only won 3 races in Europe, one of which was 1-1 and 2-1. 2020, they won Paris stage with Bonifacio, but that was very heavily reduced by COVID, that field. No World Tour in 2019. So this is a big win. This is a big deal. And I think they're going to be very happy with that. What about Trek, Benji? Did they just like what else could they have done? I guess they just ran out of men and Jumbo weren't willing to help them.
Yeah, I think they ran out of men. As simple as that. Now they did have Steven for the final sprint, right? For the preparation of the final sprint. What if
True.
they give up the lead out and therefore
Like
potentially a
Quickstep at
chance of
Kerner.
winning, but at least have a chance of trying?
Yeah, like Quickstep at Kerner, Quickstep were like, if we don't catch Laporte, it doesn't matter how good our lead out is.
Yeah.
Fabio's not winning. Fabio will have to freelance himself if we catch Laporte. So
Freelance?
I think you make a good point there that conservation of lead out is pointless if you don't catch the breakaway. But big win from him tomorrow in Paris Nice is Turini. It's the big mountaintop finish. I haven't heard anything official about the climb being cancelled. Apparently, there's bad weather and cold. It's cold here in the Pyrenees at the moment, but this is in the Alps, I think, French Alps. But yeah, apparently there's snowfall, cold conditions, but it's a mountaintop finish. So hopefully it goes ahead. No descent. 156 Ks. They do a warm-up climb. 8 Ks, 5%, but it's pretty easy running. It's a watts per kilo test. Perfect for Roglic. 15 Ks, 7.2%. Very steady. A little bit steeper in the last 4 Ks, about 8% average. And Quintana and Yates, they got to do something if they want to dislodge Roglic, or if Quintana wants to even come top 3. So I think RK ascended again, Benji.
Yeah, the thing with Quintana is that he doesn't necessarily have the incentive to go from the bottom, as in, like, Quintana wants to move up positions and is still fine with a third or fourth position for UCI points. Adam Yates, I doubt he cares too much if he's second or fifth, right? Or, well, actually, Bike Exchange wants some points as well these days, so I don't know. They might both have incentives to wait a bit longer to make sure they've got their top 5 position and don't implode towards the end. But I'd argue if Yates is 40 seconds behind in GC now, he should try early. He's still within him reach, and we haven't seen Roglic on a final climb in a stage this entire year, like a proper climb like Col de Turini. So it's a way to test him, and if you don't test him, you will never know if you could have beaten him.
Yeah, I agree. You have to try, and I think if Roglic bridges to Yates and Quintana and they've dropped Latour, it depends how close it is to the finish. Like, just to rehash the GC positions, Yates is on 39, Latour is on 41, Danny Felipe Martinez 56, Vlasov 59, Adam Yates 111, Quintana's back on 145. I think if Quintana goes early, he has to work with Roglic. He's not going to make a minute 45. It's just not possible unless Roglic completely implodes on Turini. So he should ride for the podium and really try and put as much time as possible into Latour and the other guys, which even that will be difficult. Otherwise, I'm trying to look for. I don't see breakaway. I don't. And every good climber that's not a GC guy is just about gone home. What about Ineos, Benji? I think they'll try. I think Yates and Danny Martinez will go 1-2.
Yeah, I think their roll attacks on the others. They've got the riders to do so. They've got two GC riders to try that. But on the other hand, I've got the feeling that do I trust both of them here? Because we've seen like one and the other roll attacks so far in this race. So I don't know if I can confirm whether those two are actually on the level of Roglic at the moment. Yates was great at Yoito, but Paris-Nice is a different style of race. It's colder, different weather. I don't know if that affects Adam Yates on this finish line, because that's something we'll see. I'm mainly looking at Quintana for this, and it's personally out of a hopeful thought process and not necessarily a factual one. I think he's had a great February, but it's now March, so it doesn't mean too much. But I hope that Quintana can do something here, can put pressure on the others and open up this climb early, because Arkea doesn't have the men to open it up later. If they wait until later, I don't think they'll have the men to have like a train formation and then open it up. So the earlier the better, I guess.
Well, yeah, like on Montagne de Lure, they couldn't pace early. They had to wait on Bruno Armirel pacing for Michael Storer, and then
Yeah.
they did a very short pull with Bouet and Ede. If I'm Roglic, I want this stage. I want to take as much time as possible. Stage 8 is very difficult. It might be raining, 115 kilometers long. It's a notoriously difficult stage 8 in Paris-Nice. He lost on the race here last year. Did Yates lose it to Soler back in the day as well on this stage, even though it might have been a different profile? I think he's got to go killer instinct and take as much time as possible. That's what we learnt from last year with the Maida thing on La Colmienne. Every second counts. So, yeah, hopefully he goes for the stage and we have a show. But that was Paris-Nice. Big weekend coming up, usually the best couple of stages. The last two and the crosswind ones